people with this avoidant attachment style, they have to realize that they need to, for the sake of their health of their relationship, they need to work on that self-expression, work on maybe reducing their anxiety as it relates to conflicts, maybe welcoming conflicts more as opportunities for growth, if you will, maybe trusting more in the relationship and the fact that if they love each other, then they can perhaps lean on each other a little bit, or even gain some skills and experience and awareness how to overcome very tense and intense and perhaps difficult discussions, and as a result pushing themselves through that difficulty, trusting that because they both care about each other and willing to go there kind of through that hardship, the outcome will pay off, right? And as a result, they actually get stronger in terms of their communication, in terms of their conflict resolution and strategies and self-expression, and don't have to really suffer from what we know generally happens with to people who have attachment styles and getting in relationships. They kind of end up like roomies, like roommates, right? Without much interaction and passion and connection and real healthy, loving relationship with one another. And they're also too cautious to kind of break the relationship and separate from one another. So it becomes a little bit of a miserable situation for the rest of their lives. If they don't want that, then it's really better, as far as let's say a return on strategy or investment is concerned, for them to push themselves through that difficulty of self-expression and connection with one another, knowing that they have to work through this hardship to end up in a better relationship, a more positive, well-connected relationship. On the other hand, what do we do if we get two individuals who have what we call an anxious preoccupied attachment style? And again, that's kind of a strategy where both people would be relentless. Both people think that they have to really get to an agreement immediately, or even an understanding immediately. They have to resolve the problem now, otherwise it's a catastrophe and it leads to more problems. And so they're not comfortable taking their time, slowing down, relaxing, delaying, waiting for another time. They may believe that if we do that, that means we don't care. If we do that, that means the other partner doesn't care. That means we will forget about it and we will never revisit it. So all those thoughts and, let's say, doubts and a sense of urgency to calm themselves in regards to kind of gain a sense of security and safety in regards to that problem, leads them to this escalation of the situation and of the conflict, because that eagerness and push leads them to almost like impose their values, their worldviews, their beliefs, their own personal, individual, I would say, preferences upon one another, and then also immediately get upset and feel insulted and offended by the other person not agreeing or acquiescing or giving in or collaborating or running along with it, or going along with the propositions. So and that combination of feeling offended, insulted, kind of painful, I would say intense emotional, almost like overwhelm, and then that relentlessness, wanting to convince the other person to solve the situation in a certain way, escalates even further and further and further, to a point where at times certainly people cannot take it all the way to eternity, and something has to happen with this, which means that either people get kind of aggressive and violent with each other if they don't know how to draw certain boundaries or stop themselves, or if they do, usually it is in a kind of completely opposite direction, because they have felt so much exhaustion and pain in that conflict resolution strategy that the kind of outcome that they're entangled in within that moment is interpreted really as kind of defeat and failure. And it's such a deeply troubling type of almost like self-reflection on themselves and on their relationship that they immediately want to disconnect. So it could lead to hours, days, months of disconnection and staying away from one another, or even almost like this intense, immediate, very much irrational decision of a permanent disconnection, which we could call, separation or divorce. So so this is some of those dangers that people also get with those two anxious preoccupied styles. And now the way to remedy that would hinge on a person's ability to actually work on own personal self-regulation. So rather than depending on the other person agreement or the other person's acquiescence or other person's giving in or capitulating or resolving this issue right now, that they would have to start working on a little bit interdependence or independence, where they can tell themselves, I know that I'm kind of almost highly codependent on the other person's engagement here, and that is what is making things worse. What I can or should do instead is to really create a little bit of a safe distance, of an agreeable connection, yet a more calm, peaceful connection, and a little bit of patience that this will resolve, but more or less sooner or later. We will remain in connection, and we will continue kind of chipping away at the issue and the problem until we solve it, but with a more sound mind, with a more calm presence, with a better focus and attention, with better energy, with a lot more understanding between us. So all that's, self-talk, self-affirmation, self-regulation would be very, very helpful for the anxious, preoccupied mind to literally have this inner conversation, inner reflection, and focus on their own skills to kind of de-escalate, kind of dial the energy down, dial the emotions down, and making them more manageable in the situation, and literally tell themselves that they do have the ability. They just have to practice it in terms of creating a little bit more safety and security in the process, rather than depending on other people to change their behavior for them to feel safe and secure. So if they can do that, then they can actually create a little bit more of a different resolution strategy with their partner. I hope you found this video helpful. Make sure you subscribe to my channel for more videos and click the bell for notifications, and also make sure you watch another video